Let's take a look at what the Lagena brothers have found in Season 11, Episodes 1 and 2. Currently, a team is on the verge of discovery, equipped with tenacity and cutting-edge technology. Their devices indicate that the wealth is within a 24-meter radius, triggering the construction of lateral tunnels to reach the enigmatic depths. A strange circular depression forms as the team drills carefully in the garden hole, creating excitement and intensifying the sensation of expectation. A ceramic fragment with an iron clasp emerges from the dig as a concrete link to the island's hidden past. The inscription indicates the existence of Sir William, a prominent pirate who is said to have hidden his treasures on the island. Driven by the need for answers, the crew attempts to penetrate the labyrinth underground in search of the buried artifacts. However, the island's mysteries remain a mystery. The team's finds are intermittent, hinting at a tangled historical tapestry. Another massive ceramic discovery, maybe from England or Pennsylvania, emerges, demonstrating the island's rich history. This big cooking kettle becomes a relic, calling the crew to discover its significance in the hunt for the ultimate prize. The crew also discovers numismatic gems, unearthing 4 to 5 coins dated between 500 AD and 300 BC that carry the undeniable mark of Roman provenance. Each coin serves as a temporal marker, constructing a story that extends beyond the island's current bounds. These antique artifacts, which have been distributed throughout the last year, behave as cryptic breadcrumbs, taking the seekers through the history of time. A prospective tunnel appears to the east of the garden shaft. This shaft has long been known and has been transformed into a pond with a rock garden surrounding it, adding to the increasing conundrum. The squad is in a pickle as they try to figure out if this is the entrance to the mythical treasure. Is this tunnel a part of the island's complicated network, or just a maze that leads them astray? The crew grapples with the island's dual character as the study progresses, a storehouse of historical riches and a puzzling mystery. The pottery, coins, and tunnel signs interweave, producing a scene that requires attentive deciphering. As the island grudgingly discloses its secrets, the hunt for answers becomes more than just a drive for monetary prosperity. The crew pushes on in the echoing halls beneath the island, fueled by the tantalizing promise of uncovering a treasure that has teased fortune seekers for years. The scientists used a Skyscan CT scanner, which could penetrate and provide precise 3D details of the hidden landscape. A metal lock uncovered during the operation suggested a fascinating past, maybe related to a bow tie strap recovered in a French chest. The news that Oak Island had historical links to southern France had heightened the fascination. It was theorized that the goal was to conceal precious commodities. The excitement intensified as the crew drilled to a depth of around 105 feet. The finding of a suspected triangle-shaped wetland is largely or fully man-made. The team's discoveries reached beyond the earthly world, including fragments of sailing vessels ranging from the 7th to the 18th centuries. A stone path adds to the mystery surrounding Oak Island's history. Undaunted by previous discoveries, the crew set out on a new mission, a 6-inch borehole strategically situated between the intriguing Baby Blob and the garden shaft. The expectation was that this drill would forge a secret link with the nearby gold, silver, and other metals. A parallel inquiry was underway as drilling activities progressed. Another team investigated the puzzles surrounding a mystery circular stone depression, adding to the dense tapestry of Oak Island's mysteries. The use of red ware, which is a type of pottery in Europe and North America throughout the 17th and 18th centuries, raises fascinating concerns regarding its relationship to pottery in the early 1600s. It begs the question of whether crimson ware serves a dual purpose, maybe concealing something important while in use. If a team digs further, they may find signs that give light on the dual purpose of red ware and the objectives behind its creation. In the meantime, another inquiry is focusing on the famous money pit. It was said that drilling in the money pit in 1861 led to the discovery of 2 money chests. Subsequent attempts to recover the wealth were complicated by seawater flooding the tunnel, perhaps spreading the treasure. The issue is whether the squad is on the verge of unearthing the original money pit. The discovery of valuable metals in the region heightens the excitement and anticipation of what may be discovered. The previously mentioned pirateer, Sir William's discovery of a wreck holding approximately 100 tons of silver in 1687, piques the team's interest. His following trip with an assistance, with less wealth the second time, suggests the potential of numerous buried treasures. Also, a latch discovered in a circular dip is a tantalizing link to Sir William. While one crew continues their search in the circular depression, another team uncovers a vital clue less than 30 yards from where a 1,000-year-old Roman coin was discovered the year before. The issue then becomes, how did these Roman coins find up on Oak Island? And what role do they play in solving the island's mystery? An X-ray fluorescent spectrometer was used to determine the potential provenance of these coins. This non-destructive technology uses radiation to detect the minerals that make up items. The finding of a second presumably Roman coin offers the fascinating possibility that these artifacts were transported to Oak Island on purpose by people who may have also buried other precious objects. The team's diligent use of technology and technique adds another level of accuracy to their search for answers. Furthermore, team members discover clues all around Europe, including Portugal, Italy, and England, which were all formerly part of the Roman Empire. This worldwide link implies a complicated web of historical events that may have resulted in the presence of Roman artifacts on Oak Island. The mystery deepens as the crew considers how these kinds of evidence fit into the larger story of Oak Island's intriguing past. The secrets of Oak Island, linked via red pottery, the enigmatic money pit, Sir William's silver-laden history, and Roman artifacts, remain enigmas. As teams explore history, technology, and worldwide connections, the island's mysteries become clearer, offering a story rich in riches and narratives hidden under its cryptic surface. Ship is a big deal. If this arrowhead really is of Viking origin, it is a big deal. Emma Culligan, the team's metallurgist, took a closer look at the arrowhead using an X-ray fluorescent spectrometer, which used radiation to analyze the composition of an object without damaging it, which is a perfect tool for fragile historical artifacts. Emma Culligan's analysis did not definitively confirm its origin, but it did add weight to the theory. It was one more piece of evidence that suggests a deeper, older history for Oak Island than we previously thought. The team also explored bog ore, a naturally occurring iron deposit that is basically a Viking hallmark. Mark explained how bog ore, a mix of ferrous oxide and sand, was commonly used in Europe for forging tools and weapons as far back as the 5th century BC. It is also found in swampy areas, which just so happens to include both Lanços Meadows and Oak Island. If the materials match, it could be the smoking gun that ties Viking activity directly to the island. The significance of this potential connection cannot be overstated. Viking blacksmithing techniques were highly advanced for their time. If the arrowhead or any other artifact found on Oak Island was made using bog ore, it would be a strong indicator of Norse involvement. Marty summed up the situation perfectly. Oak Island has become incredibly complex. With so many different theories, artifacts, and timelines, it is a puzzle with pieces that seem to come from entirely different boxes. But every discovery, like this arrowhead or the bog ore, helps eliminate some possibilities while opening the door to others. The Viking connection adds a layer of richness to the story. It intertwined exploration, craftsmanship, and the mystery of Oak Island in a way that feels almost too good to be true. Additionally, the possibility of a connection to the Knights Templar, who are often theorized to have used Oak Island as a secret repository for treasures and artifacts, is also intriguing. The Vikings were unrivaled navigators of their time, and their expertise in navigation and survival in harsh conditions could have made them invaluable allies. The artifacts found on Oak Island over the years make things even more interesting. The evidence of Viking presence in North America is a complex and multifaceted topic. Lanços Meadows is the only confirmed Viking settlement in the region. But other clues include butternut seeds found at the site, which suggests the Norse traveled much farther south than Newfoundland. This aligns with the sagas, which describe a place called Vinland, rich in resources. Other North American archaeological sites have discovered artifacts resembling Norse craftsmanship, such as the Maine penny, a silver coin from 11th century Norway, found in a Native American archaeological site in the 1950s. The Templar connection is another intriguing aspect of the Viking presence in North America. Historical records confirm the Templars were a powerful Catholic order during the Crusades, tasked with protecting pilgrims and managing vast wealth. However, there is no solid evidence tying them to North America, and the theory hinges on speculation and the mysterious disappearance of Templar treasures after their order was disbanded in the 14th century. If the Templars did come to Oak Island, what could they have left behind? Proponents argue that their treasure, possibly including the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant, might have been hidden in the money pit. However, no definitive Templar artifacts have been unearthed on Oak Island, and the dates don't always align with their timeline of activity in Europe. The case for Viking involvement on Oak Island gains traction with each new find, such as an arrowhead analyzed by Emma Culligan and bog ore found both on Oak Island and at Lance O. Meadows. If these materials can be matched through further analysis, it would strengthen the argument for a Norse connection. However, it is essential to approach these theories critically, as every tantalizing clue has a counterpoint to consider. The Templar connection relies heavily on circumstantial evidence and gaps in historical records, while the Viking theory, while supported by physical evidence, is still far from conclusive. Skeptics also argue that the artifacts found on Oak Island could have been brought there later by settlers or collectors, and that the lack of definitive Viking structures or settlements raises questions about the Norse presence. Energized by the rest and driven by the results from the earlier day, the team resumes working on the drilling machine while converging at the war room to have a visual meeting with representatives from Dumas Construction Limited. The purpose is to confirm the approval of their drilling and excavation rights by Nova Scotia's authorities' code of practice so their research can be furthered without legal barriers. From the Zoom meeting, the construction company representative speaker asserts their preparedness to deepen the garden shaft a few feet and is good to go as soon as the government's approval is confirmed. There was a need to return to Lot 5 to further investigate the marked spots from the day before. However, on getting there, a bunch of the team's archaeologists had already made a head start in digging into a mysterious tree with a rock foundation. The rock wall was found a year ago during a metal detecting process by Gray and Rick. Since its discovery, the team has been researching where it leads, as well as carefully digging into the ground surrounding it. So far into the digging, the team was able to recover some ancient artifacts, such as pieces of broken pottery, broken or worn-out pipes, and stems that, no surprise, were also reported to date back to the 1750s. Without a doubt, the timeline for the buried treasure is in the 1700s, as the soil of the garden shaft and the ancient tunnel also date back to this period. The archaeologists of the Oak Island team are very involved in drawing conclusions from the pieces of evidence gathered so far. The team believes the rock bed is not a result of friction or natural causes, but a deliberate attempt to keep something hidden underneath the Earth's surface. The archaeology team is still early in the digging, and there is a huge chance of uncovering many artifacts buried deep in the soil. One of the early discoveries of digging the flag-marked area was that the supposed gun part was taken to the Interpretative Center for Carbon Dating and further studies. It was found to be a piece of a dismantled musket used in Europe in the 16th century. The CT scan from Skyscan 1273 showed a very clear scan of the object, similar to when it was first created. From the clarity of the scan, some Roman numerical inscriptions, VIII, were found on the artifact, and while inscriptions are not infamous on artifacts, the chances of that tiny piece being marked are unusual, albeit deliberate, not coincidental. Also, there were similar inscriptions on artifacts found at Smith's Cove on the island. A 65-foot-long wooden structure was uncovered. It bore the same Roman numerals and was possibly an object for water diversion or to regulate flooding. Based on the artifacts complementing each other and being so closely carbon dated, it is not a far-fetched theory to assume it was the remains of the French naval military ship in 1776. After all, even the logs and travel journals point to Oak Island as the deposit site of the unsuccessful war. The two artifacts are very connected, and as time and excavation go on, more answers will be provided about the roots. The team had a collective agreement to revisit Lot 5 and research for similar or new artifacts. The seemingly never-ending drilling from the start of the day when studied had dug an impressive depth of over 105 feet into D5N 24.5, getting very close to the rumored passageway, a 7.5-foot wood from the tunnel said to be under the garden shaft. There was a timber blockage sucked in by the drilling machine. There is a high chance it belongs to a collapsed or rusted tunnel, confirming that construction is definitely underneath the garden shaft. Something interesting stands out about the 7.5-foot wood discovered. Its pattern seems closely linked to being hand-cut. The pattern is thought to be adze cutting, which dates back 2,200 years into Egyptian history. The adze is an ancient construction tool with two parts, a sharp blade and a wooden handle. According to Alex, if just a broken piece of the tunnel is about 7.5 feet, there is no chance that the adze used to carve the wood would be anything less in size. Although the adze is not expected to be 7 feet, it is expected to be above the average size of a regular adze. This further claims Oak Island to be a deposit site, as no searcher or aide would have been well armed to make such strenuous construction in an attempt to find the precious metals or other jewels. The architect of the tunnel had aides and a purpose: hiding valuables. About a year ago, Oak Island's team traveled to research the connection between Oak Island and the Knights Templar in Italy. Tunnels and man-made caves of the 12th to 14th centuries were studied, as well as their architectural design, symbols, and inscriptions on the cave walls. Some of these were also found on Oak Island and date as far back as 3,000 years ago. The team was curious about what state the underground tunnel was in and decided to speed up their research and feed curiosity by lowering a camera several feet below the ground. At first, it was the visual of drilled circular soil and the obvious shift of the camera moving further below. At 7 meters into the hole, the camera, unfortunately, turned pitch black after hitting a mass of thick water mixed with soil, and had to be pulled out because there was no longer a chance of observation until the water was drained out of the hole. Overall, the observation result was short-lived and a bit disappointing. New questions arise about what the blockage might be: another wood, a metal material, or perhaps an object for restraining flooding underground. The episode closes lightly on a positive note, as most targets were met and successful.